Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Matias. We're here.
afternoon.
Today's August 12th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Santa Fe. We're conducting a conversation, not an interview, just a conversation with Matias Zamora, one of the deans of the New Mexico Bar for years and years and years. And this is for the New Mexico Bar Association, the senior lawyers division of it. We want to get Matt on tape for posterity, as they say. So no pressure, Matt, all right?
Okay.
All right, good. So tell me, Matt, well, first let me ask you. I met you first when I was a baby lawyer with Arturo Ortega, and back in 1973, something like that. In 1973, you'd been practicing law already for almost 20 years, no?
73, since I started practicing in 55.
55, yeah.
Yeah.
So almost, all right.
Yeah.
So you were an accomplished lawyer already by the time I started. So,
Yeah, debatable.
well, sure, all things are debatable. Exactly. All things are debatable. You were born here in Santa Fe, right?
No, I was born in Mora, New Mexico, ranching and farming community.
Oh, okay.
And we had both a farm and a small ranch, small things, during the Depression. And what I learned from that was 5 o'clock in the morning, he started to work. And everyone had his own chores. And it was really hard work.
Yep.
And what would I say? So, as I grew older, there was only one other brother that would work with me or work with us, and my dad. We'd get up early, and so it was a farm life, and we didn't have any money, but we had all the food we could produce, and but it instilled some responsibilities on me. There's no question that I had to do certain things in the morning, and then and at the same time we were very religious people, and I would go to. I was an altar boy for about 14 years, and what was I going to say? We had, and then during the day I had to take the cows to pasture and stuff like that, make it to church, take the pasture, and then go to school.
Right.
I was fortunate in that my father was an educator, and he insisted on education, but also he was. I think I could recite most of the Raven by Edgar Allan Poe when I was about probably 11 years old or something like that.
Excellent.
And
Excellent. So you went to school there in Mora?
Yeah, I went to school in Mora. I was 1 year behind. I guess 1 year I had a whooping cough, and so I was left. I couldn't go to school. In any event, I did go to school in Mora. I had some very wonderful teachers in the Mora schools. We had one, Mary Romo, that was just fabulous. She had us debating and doing things like out of the ordinary for teachers, and then.
Now, was it a one-room schoolhouse?
No, it was there were probably, I don't know in my class we were probably about 20. It wasn't a very small class, and so as I said, I went there, and then my mother died when I was about 13, and and I had a cousin that lived with us, and we managed to get along, but it was hard work to do that. And
Where did you
so
go to
I
school?
ended up going to Albuquerque. To my sisters went to Sacred Heart School, and
Okay.
and
So you went to high school at Sacred Heart?
yeah, well, to the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then the 10th grade I went to Lourdes Seminary, used to be on 2nd Street,
Oh, right.
and for all intents and purposes, my aim was to be a priest, but the war was on, and I was afraid that I might not make it, and I didn't want to be a draft dodger, so I left the seminary, went back to Mora for 1 year, and then I was inducted into the service. I was, after my basic training, I was set to go to paratrooper school, but was stopped when the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs were dropped. I forgot to tell you something. During one summer, I worked at Los Alamos in 1943, and I worked as a waiter at Fullerton Lodge, and we waited on all the scientists I got to to see, like Oppenheimer, Teller, Fermi, and of course General Groves, who was in charge. Partner. I had sort of a funny story. The lieutenant that was in charge of the place, last name was Davalos, and besides waiting on tables and all that, we used to clean his room and do his boots. And afterwards, he became a surveyor in Santa Fe, and he would always introduce me and follow it up. He used to shine my boots. And,
excellent. So how'd you get that job? That's a fascinating, great job.
Well, I think the fact that I was in a seminary, and I just applied for it and waited, and they questioned me, but I didn't have much of a problem.
Excellent.
But it was, you went through a guard and all that.
Right.
And it was very difficult to get in and to get out.
Right. Right.
So anyway, that was part of my background. So when I heard that the bombs were dropped, I realized what the heck they were doing. And then instead of my going to the Pacific as I was scheduled to go, I went to Germany. And one of the first things I did was to get my GED, and then I applied for a commission, but I was too green, inexperienced, and all that. So they didn't give me a commission, but they suggested that I take a language aptitude test. And at that time, Mrs. Roosevelt was advancing the Esperanto. She wanted to develop a uniform, world, one language.
Right.
And anyway, I guess I scored well, and I ended up in God, I can't remember, in counterintelligence, and went to school, took languages, and became quite proficient in both German and Russian. I took German the American way, taught me German, I knew it well, and then they put me in a Russian school, and I had to forget my German so I could learn my Russian.
Typical
Anyway,
military, no?
yeah.
Typical military, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, while I was in that Russian school, I met a captain who had graduated from Georgetown,
Mm-hmm.
and we became friends. There were enlisted men and officers in the same classes. In fact, we didn't wear the officers didn't wear their
Insignia or anything?
yeah, they just wore. I wore the same uniform they wore, and while at school, and so he told me about Georgetown, and I said I'm going to Georgetown. So when while I was there, I picked up college bulletins or books on
Right.
on the different schools, and and then I found out that at Highlands I could finish in a shorter time by auditing courses and then taking an examination, and then there was
You know, all that was very ambitious of you. I mean, what's a kid from Mora who wanted to be a priest thinking about going to Georgetown after learning German and Russian? This is a lot to do for a young man.
And then anyway, I knew what I was going to take when I went to Highlands,
Mm-hmm.
and had a major in political science and minors in psychology and philosophy, and I was accepted at Georgetown. I was also accepted at St. John's in New York, and but I was going to Georgetown, and while I was going to Georgetown, I worked with the House of Representatives as a mail carrier, and got the good fortune of meeting so many people that were later important,
Right.
like Kennedy, Ford, Nixon,
Right.
and
Now, did you get that job through senatorial sponsorship or one of the
it
representatives?
was through a congressman's, Antonio Fernandez,
Okay.
and so where were we? Anyway, I came back to Highlands, just trying to do it, and I finished in about 2 years and a quarter, something like that, and headed for. Before I went there, I didn't have any money to get to Washington, so I went and worked at a depot, military depot in Colorado Springs, and the job that I got was pulling nails off, breaking up cars. And,
That's a great way to use a college degree, huh?
and one night I was coming home, and somebody asked me where I was working. I said, Section 14, that's a moron. Boy, it hurt me. But
Yeah.
I worked there, and then during the day also worked at a filling station and got enough money to get to Washington to
Great.
start law school.
So, what led you to go to law school at all? I mean, again, a young man from Mora who wanted to be a priest to begin with. How did you decide finally to go to law school?
This captain sort of convinced me, the captain I met in the service, and we talked a lot, and I got interested in the law. He told me about that's why.
Okay.
I knew nothing about law. I had met one attorney, but not in the legal field, Antonio Fernandez, before I went into service. Anyway.
So there were no lawyers in Mora, were there?
No, there weren't any lawyers. And anyway, I got that and went and came out of, graduated from Georgetown, and with a false pride in a sense, and I took the bar exam and I missed it. Ooh, man, that really hurt. Anyway.
But you're in good company though. Lots of people missed that first time. Richard Ransom, right?
Yeah,
Dick Ransom
Richard
missed it the
did too.
first time.
Yeah.
Right? So lots of good people messed up that bar exam the first time. It's
And
okay.
so the second time I studied round the clock, and I made it okay, and I started working with the state land office in the oil and gas with Oscar Jordan, and in doing it I had conversation. We were working on the rules and regulations, and I visited with attorneys, show them what we had done so far, and see what changes they thought it was necessary, or what was necessary, and that led to this attorney recommending me to Harry Bigby, and I went. I was interviewed by Harry Bigby, and the first thing I told him, I missed the bar, and he said, "You did." So I thought it isn't that bad. Anyway, we.
Now everybody called him Judge Bigby back then, didn't they?
Yeah, he had been a judge for a year.
Right, right. But he was a judge the rest of his life. No?
Yeah, he was a judge. But he was a very wonderful person to me, and he gave me responsibilities. But
how long were you with him?
I was there up until 1958, I think.
Okay.
And no, anyway, from there I went on my own, and I was appointed to the district judgeship in Las Vegas, and
who appointed you? Who appointed you?
Jack Campbell.
Okay.
And
Now, how'd you get that appointment, do you think? Did you know Jack Campbell well, or?
No, I had met Jack Campbell before in an interview on oil and gas, but I didn't know him that well. But I think it was a recommendation of Donna Stevens that got me. I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. And Donan Stevenson at that point, was he on the Supreme Court already? Or was he still in practice?
He was still in practice.
Okay.
Yeah, he was still in practice.
Okay.
Anyway, I became a judge, and
now, when you went on the bench, were you the only judge up there for the 4th District?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Mora, San Miguel, and Guadalupe counties.
And did you replace Judge Armijo? Or
Judge Armijo, yeah.
Okay.
And
big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill.
Well, in a sense they were, but I'll tell you, it was pretty hard, and people were used to going in and talking to the judge, and I had to stop that.
Right.
And
Judge Armijo was there for what, 35 years or something?
yeah, 25, 35 years.
Right, right.
And,
so you ran the court a little bit differently than he did?
oh yeah, much differently than he did. Anyway, we worked hard. We had a docket call, and I think we got rid of 3,200 cases and cleared. There were cases where the paternity suits where the child was already in the army.
Oh, good grief. Okay, so you did run the court a little bit different from Judge Armijo.
Yeah.
You got things done. Huh?
Yeah, but at the same time, I noticed how unprepared attorneys were.
Oh.
Yeah, there was only one, Leon Carolet, that really was prepared. The others were, I mean, just not prepared. You can't say that they, and then they started citing cases without saying that this case provided such and such thing without giving me the citation.
Right,
anyway,
right.
I had some good experiences as a judge, principally trying one case in Alamo Gordo with Joe Smith.
Oh.
And that was really great and important. But
Who was the defense counsel in that case? Do you remember?
oh, I don't remember. I don't remember his name, but he was from Alamo Gordo.
Okay.
And
did Smith win? Did Smith win?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And
No,
was his son-in-law Ransom was with him or not?
Who?
Yeah.
Ransom?
Yeah.
No,
He wasn't with
Ransom.
him. No.
Ransom wasn't still in practice, I don't think. And
Well, that was early then.
what else? Okay, so anyway, I started looking at myself, and I figured I was totally unprepared to be a trial lawyer. And I didn't want to stay in the judgeship. I wanted to be out there fighting rather than the judgeship.
Okay.
And so
Well, and
started a process of doing a lot of things. I had been on the that's when they started with the medical
medical legal panels.
yeah, medical legal panel, and I met a doctor who was a hypnotist, because
Okay.
I had a problem. Oh, I have to go back. I took later on. I took a course in Las Vegas, Nevada, on trial practice, and I was always really reading from the paper rather than looking at the jury, and always depending that the name would start with an A rather than with a Z. And he called my name, and as I was going up, pulled the tablet away from me. And so I did give an opening statement, but it wasn't what I thought I would have done. And so through this hypnotist, I learned to question people without any notes in front of me, and question them before the jury, or qualify a jury without looking at a piece of paper.
Right.
Maybe some clue, written clue, but not much. And
You know, this is amazing to me, Matt, because you had not just a reputation. You, in fact, were one of the best trial lawyers ever come out of the North. And so what you're telling me is that you had to get yourself hypnotized in order to become that?
yeah.
That's astonishing. That is
Yeah.
absolutely
No,
amazing to me.
I took speed reading and
Right.
everything that, because I knew I was not
Okay.
really qualified to be
Wow.
a trial attorney.
So did you start trying cases only after you got off the bench?
No, I had tried
took
cases
before that?
before
Okay.
that, but they weren't poor clients. They were not really well presented, at least in my judgment after.
Right.
And then I took that, I went through all that, and I had a case, a rear end collision, where I got a $350,000 verdict, and God, they thought everything was going to hell. It was,
Did the judge let it stand?
huh?
Did the judge let
Yeah.
it stand?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Well, no, they didn't let it stand. It was a Rainbow Bridge truck, and they appealed, but failed to file their supersedious bill, bond, and they attached a bunch of Wonder Bread trucks.
Excellent.
We picked up a cash,
Excellent.
and the next day I had a check.
There you are. Excellent. You got to do things right if you're going to do
Yeah.
them, right?
What else can I?
So when was that case, that big judgment? Was that in the 60s?
That was in, let's see, yeah,
Was that in the 60s? Okay, right.
it would have been in the 60s, yeah.
Yeah. Because Art Ortega used to tell a story about a big judgment that he got in the 50s, late 50s. It got appealed, and the Supreme Court reversed it because they said the judgment was just too big. I mean, they weren't going to let it stand. That's all there is to it. And so,
I had a case where I got a big verdict against General Motors, and they reversed me on appeal. I thought it was wrong what they did, but
yeah, the Supreme Court's not always right. What did Gene Franchini used to say about Supreme Court? They're right because they're last. That's the only reason they're right sometimes, right? You are.
And then where am I?
Talking about cases, big cases that you won.
Oh yeah, we had a case against the Highway Department where Frank Allen was on the other side. We had taken something like 110, 15 depositions.
Wow.
And we had at the beginning of computers, we had a bank of computer operators
Wow.
at the Albuquerque National Bank, one floor, and they were keying everything,
Wow.
all the deposition.
Wow.
Anyway, we were ready. It would have been about a 5-month trial. I was dreading it because I figured I won't survive this case. And
Were you by yourself as the plaintiff?
no, there was a law firm in Albuquerque that Lady Romo used to be in it. I don't remember the name of the attorney. She was anyway.
I can't either. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Frank said, "Let's sit down and see if we can settle it." We spent about 4 hours, he and I, just arguing back and forth, and we settled the case.
Excellent. Saved yourself and the system 5 months worth of work, huh? It's excellent.
But yeah, well, Frank Allen was a great guy.
He was a good guy, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
He was an honest lawyer, and you can't say that about all lawyers. Not all lawyers are honest, even back in the good old days. Not all of them were. So
I tried another case against him. It was Higgins versus Hermes, where we got for the first time per diem arguments, and well, anyway, I argued the case, and could have argued for. I argued just for what I figured was the right, not excessive, but the right verdict.
Right.
And I got the figure that I suggested, and Frank said, why didn't you ask for more? I said, because I just didn't feel that it was right.
That's good. That's the other mistake some lawyers make, is getting greedy, no?
No, yeah.
That's right. That's right. So you were on that one case, the huge case, you were doing computer encoding of all of your depositions so you could have access to them?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is cutting edge.
Yeah.
When was that? Was that late 70s, early 80s?
Let's see. No, it was, I don't remember.
But that was cutting edge back then. I mean, that's just remarkable. Wow.
Yeah, it was
So whose idea was it to do that? Was it your idea to do that? I bet it was.
No, I think it was the other attorney that got the idea, because they were putting up most of the money.
Okay. All right. So they were putting up the money and you were putting up the trial lawyer expertise.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I even went to Chicago and had a friend who was who had tried a case for 5 Woods. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was a tremendous attorney, and just to find out what he did, how he handled his days from day to day, because you could go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, trial work is hard work.
Yeah.
So
Phil, you had lunch with him in Washington.
nah, your memory's better than theirs.
Yeah?
The youngsters don't remember names. People of your generation remember names. Us young people, we don't remember anything anymore. It's terrible, I'm telling you. It's just awful. But it's astonishing, isn't it? I mean, to think of going through a trial for 5 months.
Ooh.
I mean, it'd kill you. I mean, I don't know how you would do that. I just don't know. Because
let me see. That's what led me to retire. So it was about 19. I was about when? About 90, late 80s, somewhere around there.
Okay. All right.
Phelan was the name then. Dick Phelan?
Dick Phelan from Chicago.
Okay.
He ran for governor of Chicago.
Wow,
But didn't make it.
you travel in high circles, Matt. That's pretty good.
We were playing golf in somewhere in Missouri with one of the organizations I belonged to, and after we were about the 3rd hole, something like that, he found out that women and black people were not permitted on the course. And God, if that would have come out, he wouldn't have had a chance for
absolutely.
governorship.
Oh my God. Awful. So let me go back in time a little bit. Part of the reason you got off the bench is because they didn't pay judges very well back in those days, no?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah.
I was using my savings.
Yeah, because you already had how many kids then? 4?
I had 4.
You already had 4 kids?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and they were paying what? They got a salary was like $12,000 a year or something like that?
17,000.
17. Oh, generous. Okay, good. So even in the 60s, you couldn't raise kids on that kind of money, no? No?
No, not. I knew that if I'd stayed in judgeship, I wouldn't have been able to educate them.
Right, right. So when you left, did you consciously decide to go do tort law, personal injury law, or did it sort of fall in your lap?
No, I purposely went for personal injury and wrongful death.
Okay, and why did you make that choice? Just because the cases had interested you, or?
Because the cases had interested me.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I didn't mind taking the gamble and contingent fee.
Ah, there you are, there you are. Good, so you were always happy to take a gamble and take a chance, were you?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you ever try any cases with other people? Like, did you ever try a case with Art Ortega, for example?
Yeah, I tried several cases
Did
with
you?
Art Ortega,
Okay.
and we had some that were quite successful. We had a malpractice case that we finally settled that, but we had several cases together.
Okay.
Art,
Now
he was a pretty good attorney.
yeah, reasonably good. Reasonably good.
Yeah, I was at your offices quite often.
Quite often, that's right. So, I do want to let you know that as you know, Art could be pretty haughty when he wanted to, and so he had the highest respect for you as a lawyer and a
Thank you.
person. So.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if he ever told you that himself directly, but I will tell you that Art Ortega had the highest respect for you
Thank
as a lawyer and a person. So,
Thank you.
so
Appreciate that.
although I have to say, I think that he thought that he was more effective in Las Vegas than you were. I don't know why he thought that, but you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I agree with
You
that.
agree with that? Okay, all right, good. When we used to try cases, did you try a case with him in Las Vegas?
Yeah,
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw him do a voir dire in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
It was a thing of wonder. It was remarkable how he did things up there. The one
Yeah.
case that I saw him up there, it was a wrongful death action. They pulled in 120 people for the veneer to begin with, and they had to let go of almost half of them because he knew them, he had represented them, they knew his parents, something. I mean, it was remarkable how well the connections he kept with Las Vegas, even when he was later. So anyway, so who else did you try cases with that you recall that you
Well,
enjoyed?
I was on the defense side very few times, but I did try one case with I can't remember his name. The name escapes me, but he was a defense lawyer.
Here in Santa Fe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
McCarthy, what was the name of it?
White Coat Kelly and McCarthy?
Yeah. White Coat Kelly.
Kelly?
Yeah.
You tried a defense case with Kelly?
Yeah.
Hijuela, how'd they get you to do that?
It involved someone I knew.
Ah, okay. All right, all right. So it wasn't one of his railroad cases?
No, it was a malpractice case.
Ah, all right, all
All
right.
those railroad cases were great. That was one of the I guess the biggest cases or significant cases that I won against the railroad in Santa Rosa.
Was that against Kelly?
No, it
No?
was, who was the law firm on it? I don't remember who was it.
Judge Johnson down in Albuquerque used to do a lot of defense work for the railroad. Might have been his
No, I
firm.
don't think it was him.
No?
No.
Okay, all right, good. Those are interesting cases. The FELA cases, right? Is that what they're called? FELA cases, the
Yeah,
railroad
they were,
cases?
but mine were not FELA cases.
Oh, they weren't.
They were tort cases.
Oh, okay. Wow. Now, now that's an interesting legal point. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but why would you proceed against the railroad in a straight-up tort rather than under FELA?
I don't even remember that the ever considered FELA.
Oh, wow, okay. All right, good.
I had one case in Las Vegas where this man was, he was known as a drinker, drinking, and he was heading towards the railroad tracks, and a station manager or someone with the railroad saw him going by, and he said, "Look at that drunken SOB going," and just let him go. Well, the next thing they found, it had decapitated him. And I remember that they came, and the first thing they said, the mother, he didn't drink very much. And I said, wait, hold on a second. And I did some research, and the drunker he was, the greater the liability.
Yeah.
I tried that with Art Ortega.
Was that the one with Art?
Yeah.
Interesting. Kind of wonder which case that was. I was already there at the firm with that one, I bet.
Were you?
I think so. But in the early years, all I did was carry a briefcase, so you know, they didn't let me do anything real. So it was all right. It was okay. So did you ever have partners in your law firm, or?
Well, after I left, I resigned from the Bigby law firm, and it was during that interim that I got appointed a judgeship. But yeah, I did. One of my first partner was Judge.
Pete Rael.
Huh?
Pete Pedro Rael.
Federal judge.
Conway.
Conway. Judge Conway. I hired him. He was still in law school when I hired him. And
Judge Conway was one of your employees and partners?
yeah.
That's amazing. I
But,
didn't know that.
He was a little too conservative. We parted our ways, but we parted as friends, a real good friends.
That's remarkable. Okay. Did you ever work with Jimmy Campos?
I tried. I don't remember that I ever tried any case with him.
Okay.
I know we were in a case. He was representing one person, I was representing the other.
Okay.
But we didn't associate
Very much.
very much.
Now, were you in the Bigby firm at the same time he was? He was there for a while too.
Yeah.
Campos.
Yeah, he came about 3 years after I did.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Then did you get pulled in? Did Judge Bigby pull you into the uranium cases when he got involved in all those?
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So, what did he have you do?
Well, most of them were outlining, were summarizing depositions and doing research.
Right. That uranium cases were wonderful cases.
Yeah, they were, but they were hard. They were those uranium days or something. We had a man by the name of Bokum, who the AEC at that time had control of a lot of land in San Juan County and in that area, and they announced that they were going to open it at 12 o'clock on a certain day. The first thing I had to do was to research what was meant by 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock Washington or 12 o'clock and anyway, they just spread out and made claims all over.
Right.
For
It was an actual land rush, wasn't it?
yeah.
I mean, they were out there.
It was.
It's remarkable. Now, when he got into the lawsuit with United Nuclear,
Yeah.
did he pull you into those too?
Yeah, I was in quite a bit, doing research mostly.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, the chairman of, I can't remember his name, of United Nuclear just wanted Bigby. He didn't want anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was,
There
but
was
it got too big for him, though. There was a point at which when they got into United Nuclear versus General Atomic Company, General Atomic was represented by 3 or 4 huge law firms. They said simultaneous depositions all across the country, thinking that Bigby would not be able to cover them all. And Bigby pulled in every favor he had from every lawyer he knew, and he covered them all. I'll bet you went and covered some of those depositions
No,
for
I
him.
didn't.
No, he didn't. You didn't do it. Oh, you're lucky then. You're lucky he didn't make you do that.
When they got into United Nuclear, they were Harry Bigby, Donald Stevenson, Bird,
Right.
Hurlbird, and all of them were involved in that. And
Right.
I had to handle the balance of the work in the office.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So while they were off playing with atomics, you were handling everything
Yeah.
else, huh? Great. Well, I can see why you left. That's too much. That's too
No,
much.
that wasn't the reason. We had a case, a will contest case, and I guess I was tired and ready to leave, and I had tried to see Harry Bigby to tell him what the status of the case was,
Yep.
and I couldn't. He was always busy with United Nuclear, or someone never had a chance, so I handled the case through appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he walked in, and he said, "What's about the case?" I said, "I have appealed it. It's in the Supreme Court." And, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" I said, "I told you that I was doing it." And he started questioning me, and the first time he really raised his voice at me.
Ah, there you are.
And I said, "No, I'm out." And so I resigned.
There you are. There you are. Here you've done all this work for him, and he doesn't appreciate it, right?
Well,
The hell
he
with that.
didn't know. He was just. But Harry Bigby was a sharp guy.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Did you ever try any cases with Campos as a judge?
I tried one.
How did that go? It's
Terrible.
okay. He's gone. You can tell us.
No, we had a case, and it had to do with oil and gas, and I thought Ransom and I tried it,
Ah,
and God, it was disastrous what he awarded us.
so it's a bench trial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it didn't even pay the cost of the
No.
experts.
Oh. And there's no appeal from that either, is there?
No.
No. They were done. Okay. So from that time on, did you recuse him?
I think he recused himself.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I didn't have very many federal cases,
Okay.
but I did have some while he was.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Did you ever try any cases with Gene Franchini?
Did I try cases with Gene?
Either as a lawyer or as a judge, either one.
No, I didn't try any cases
Okay.
with him or against him. But
He was a friend of yours, though, huh?
he was a good friend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What a character, huh? What a character.
Yeah.
So now, let me ask you this: you're a very proper person, I know. And so, did he ever try to control his language in front of you, or not? He didn't control his language with anybody, did he? So, of the two, who'd you like better, Gene or Glinny?
Or who?
Glinny, his wife. Who'd you like better? Him or-
Oh, Jeannie was a real nice person.
She was nice, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
Yeah. She's the one that kept him straight,
Yeah.
I think, absolutely.
Oh, gee.
No, I know. What a character. Golly, what a character. Jeez. How about Pam Minsner? Did you ever try any cases with Pam at all? as a judge or otherwise?
No, I had a case in Court of Appeals
Oh.
where she reversed me.
Ah,
But no, we had a group that would meet for coffee every Wednesday, and included Mintner, Ransom, Petra,
oh, God,
and
nice.
who else?
Did Patricio come to that?
Huh?
Patricio Serna?
No,
No, he didn't come to that?
no,
Okay.
no. I don't remember who the other judge. There were judges, and then Gino got employed by the governor,
Ah,
and might create some. So we had to disband it.
no, that's a shame. That's a shame.
It,
The sacrifices we make for our children, no.
yeah, but we invited people that. One very interesting person, and he was interesting, although I didn't care much for him, was Ehrlichman.
Oh, my
he
goodness.
lived in Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
anyway,
So was he a regular? Did Ehrlichman become a regular at your
no,
coffees?
he
or?
just went once.
Oh, okay.
One that was very regular was Dr. Sims, Albert Sims.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Was he living up here in Santa Fe at that
Yeah.
point? Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
What's he?
Or did he just drive up to have coffee with Matt Zamora?
No, I think he lived there.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting guy. Did you ever ask him about all that land he gave for the school?
Oh, yeah. He was.
It's amazing, no?
mean,
It's amazing.
mm.
I was there at the house about a year or so ago, and Tim Garcia was there, and Tim Garcia handled the estate when Dr. Sims passed away,
Oh,
and so he
passed away?
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So we sat there and looked across to the mountains, and said the family owned from here west of the river all the way to the top of the mountain at one point. Absolutely astonishing. Absolutely astonishing to think of that. Oh my goodness gracious. So anyway,
He had a ranch up in Rio Arriba County.
mhm.
Mm,
Los Brazos.
Los Brazos.
Right.
And we all went fishing.
Yep. 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 You know, they had to sell that ranch to pay the taxes when he passed away.
Is that right? Yeah.
They didn't do any estate planning. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's just beyond belief. It's just beyond belief. So,
No kidding.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't know he had died.
So Monica says I need to ask you about Franchini and the swimming pool story.
Oh. He was at a fundraiser. I don't know if it was for him or for somebody wearing a tuxedo. And the party was next to a swimming pool. And, you know, where Franchini would talk with his hands and move around. And he backed up into the pool.
It's great stuff. It's great stuff. You're not gonna. I was there when that happened.
Were you?
I was. That was during the '96 campaign.
Was
Yep,
it?
yep. It was a fundraiser for Jim Wexler
I'll be darned.
that day up here in the hills,
Oh.
and it was great to watch him fall in the pool. I got to say, I got a good laugh out of it. He got a good laugh out of it too. It was great stuff. So anyway,
Oh, gee.
great stuff. So you were famous for being, among the people who knew you at least, for being very, very even-tempered.
Franchini?
No, you were
Oh.
famous for being very even-tempered. You never got mad about very many things.
No.
Is that how you see yourself? Do you see yourself that way, as not getting mad at people?
Yeah.
Yeah, even-tempered. Even your kids. Well, you
Yeah.
got mad at them, huh? Every once in a while. The reason I bring that up is because I saw you mad one day.
You did.
I did. I saw you angry one day. You had come down to Albuquerque, for a settlement conference, and I forget who the defense lawyer was, but you met in our office down there on 12th Street. And you came in late in the morning, and about half an hour after you walked in to talk to the guy, you stormed out. I think you slammed the door when you when you left. Matt, what's going on? And you said you were insulted by the way this defense lawyer had treated you in this conference. He said, wasting my time, and you stomped. You didn't even let me take you to lunch. So you must have been really angry that day. So,
Yeah, I don't remember that.
yeah. So, very rare occurrence.
What was the name of the attorney that very Catholic and always
Cleakin, Gene Cleakin.
I think it might have been Cleakin.
Ah, there you are.
Cleakin.
Cleakin made everybody mad, including himself.
Yeah.
Including himself. He and Ortega used to have these awful fights in court. Oh my God.
He got me. The first time I tried a case with Cleakin, he got me with Mazora instead of Zamora, Mr. Mazora.
Did you straighten him out?
Well, I got mad because he kept repeating
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I asked the judge to instruct him what my name was. And I lost the case, but for some reason I had it reversed. It was an Indian girl that was hurt in a Navajo reservation by a missionary. And anyway, the next time we tried it, he couldn't pull that.
He couldn't pull that off again.
No. And anyway,
Good.
I beat him well.
Good. Excellent.
That's led to his firing.
Oh, is that the case that led to his firing by State Farm?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. We won't burden the interview with that, but that's a great story, isn't it? When he got fired, amazing. That's amazing.
And his daughter, I like her. She's a very nice person.
Very, very nice.
And the sons came and apologized to me for the actions of their dad.
Oh my goodness, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, all of his children went to work for him for a little while.
Yeah.
The boys couldn't stand it. They
Yeah.
left very quickly. His daughter's the only one who stuck with him. So.
Yeah.
So now you had your kids working with you for a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
How many lawyers did you have as children? Tres.
Diego to start with, and
Right,
then
right.
Monica.
Right. It's good. How did that work out? How did it work out having your kids work with you as a lawyer?
Oh, it worked out well.
Worked out well?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Excellent. That worked out well because, well, tell me why it worked out well. Because it doesn't always, you know. Sometimes fathers and children just don't work well
I
together.
don't remember ever having an argument over anything.
That's great.
If I said something, they accepted it, and most of the time I accepted whatever they said. There were times when I remember Monica and I tried a case, I don't remember what case it was, and we lost it in Santa Fe, and she said, I was amazed that we lost the case, and all you said afterwards, let's get back to the office, we've got other cases.
Well, that's what you have to do, no?
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You got to get back to work.
Mhm.
So that's great. So looking back on your career, what do you think? Did it go the way you thought it would go? Did you enjoy the practice of law? and
Oh,
everything
yeah, I
like-
enjoyed the practice of law. It was, I really did.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the trial work, especially before juries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, everybody said you were a magician in front of juries, so.
Well, it was because of maybe, I'm not saying that I was a magician, but the fact that I could stand and question a witness without a paper in front of me
Right.
and looking at him and the jury made quite a difference in,
Right.
in your,
Yep.
in
Yep.
your
Yep.
trial.
It made you look it made you look real
Yeah.
as a person, no?
Yeah.
You were just.
And sometimes you could fashion a question that would interest this particular jury, and you could say it, and you could
Right.
look that way.
Right, right,
And sometimes they would way back in approval.
right, right, right,
But
right. No, that's the advantage of working without notes is that you can actually have eye contact,
Yeah.
right? You're actually having just a conversation with jurors. So.
mhm.
Do you think your background growing up in Mora, I mean, growing up in rural northern New Mexico helped you too?
Yeah, I think I did because of the hard work. I learned how to do hard work, take responsibility, and the religious aspect was
Right.
very important to me.
Right.
And then I had such wonderful people. My dad was as I said, an educator, and he had us reading from English books and all that.
Right.
And it wasn't just reading; you had to sit down and recite, or tell them about a particular poem, or like I can't think.
It's great. So there's a lot of homeschooling going on too.
What was it? The oration to Caesar. What was it? Anthony's oration to Caesar.
Oh yeah. Well, that not too many people in Mora were reading Shakespeare when you were growing up. I bet that's pretty good. That's excellent. So that had to have played a big role in your development, no?
Oh yeah,
The fact that you were exposed to all that as a young person.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you left Mora, you weren't just a country rube. You were already exposed to the world. That helps. Well, that explains why you were so ambitious when you got into the army and other places. That's good. That's good. What kind of awards? You got lots of awards when you were in the practice. I mean, you have the International Academy of Trial Lawyers, and
Yeah,
it's a
it
pretty exclusive group.
Yeah. I was in the American College of Trial Lawyers, the International Academy. In fact, I was on the board of the International Academy, and I was in the admissions committee. And but that was a real group. You met all the big lawyers and
Right.
mhm.
The Bellis of the world, huh?
Yeah. Well, Belli was not a.
He wasn't a member. the reason I said Belli is to see if you'd tell me he wasn't a member. That's right. He had a good reputation, but really, not so much. No.
No, I'll tell you who was good. No, he was not a member there, but I had the occasion to meet him. He was from Wyoming. The war.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
Spence. What's his name?
Last name
Gary
Jerry.
Spence. Gary Spence. Jerry Spence.
Jerry Spence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was really great.
Yeah, he was good.
Uh-huh.
Even though he wore funny
I
jackets.
think he copied me on that. In closing argument, I used to use a story about this elderly man that would come to the village, and the people would wait for him and ask his advice on certain things that happened. And this time they called him because they couldn't control their children. They were not really obeying him, and so he told them what they should do. And look, how did it go? Anyway, this man, to make him look like a fool, brought a bird between the palm of his hand and said, "Is this bird dead or alive?" And he says, "You know, the life of that bird is entirely in your hands. And the jury, the life of this person is entirely in your hands. It was something like that.
There you are. There you are. That was part of your closing cases. See, that you are a magician. No, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. I wish I'd have heard that. I would have used it too. I'd have stolen it from you too if I'd have heard it. So, excellent. So, what led you in the end to retire? I mean, you loved it, and yet you retired.
I had worked all my life 7 days a week and nights and all that.
Yep.
And that case that I told you, that highway case, was going to last so long, and I figured I would never make it through it. And once I settled that, then I started thinking Diego was with me, and I started thinking of just
Time to pull
leaving
back.
it and start traveling. And we did some good traveling.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Excellent. So you didn't miss the practice after you left?
Oh yeah, I did.
Ah, there you are. So so you retired, but you still sort of missed it, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I spent my time helping Diego and Monica with whatever
Right, right.
I could do.
Right.
Mm.
Good. Did you
And
charge them?
Gino,
Did you charge them?
no.
Did they offer? Did they offer to pay you?
No.
Fregones, muchachos. No, I'm telling you.
No, maybe they had offered, I don't remember.
Now that you recall, huh? I'm trying to embarrass them since they're right here. So. It's great. So, anything else you can think of, Matt?
No, I can't think of anything.
Wisdom? You want to offer some wisdom to young lawyers?
Yes. The young lawyers, before, especially if they're going to be trial attorneys, they should prepare themselves, because just a law degree and perhaps little courses that you might have had in school do not help you. You have to think of how you behave in a courtroom, how you asking questions without papers in front of you, hypnotism. I went through hypnotist, and Monica and Diego had to go through to a hypnotist to help them.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'll talk to her about that in a while. That's great. It's remarkable. So they have to put the work in, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
And then I think it was during that time that I was asked by New York University to go to Columbia,
Yeah.
and they had problems with recording of papers. They had 12 notarias, called a notary publics, and you could file your deeds, any one of the 12. So to try to get a history of a title was almost impossible.
Oh my goodness.
And that one thing I did do, they regionalized the notarios, notaries.
Well, that's remarkable. Was that when you were with the AG's office?
No,
No?
I was never with the AG.
Oh, you were, okay. No. With the land office?
No, this was after I was in practice.
Oh. Wow. How'd you get that assignment? That's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, so it's interesting. See, so they thought we got a problem. Matt can fix it, and you did, right?
Yeah, but I don't know how I got that.
That's interesting.
That
Huh. Great.
I guess I had interest in abstract companies, so I guess it was that.
Ah, okay. All right. Good. So you were in the practice for about 30 years, 35 years?
About 35, 36.
35 years. During the practice, did you notice the level of ethical conduct rise, fall, stay the same?
it changed immediately. I'll tell you, it changed when the rules were adopted to sanction people for, you had that problem. You do anything, there was a sanction. You had to go argue it, especially when you're on the plaintiff's side,
Right.
and it took up your time. And we didn't have anything like that.
Okay. So that was the Rule 11
I don't
sanctions?
remember which rule it was.
I think it was Rule 11. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, it had an awful unintended consequence.
Mm-hmm.
A whole separate practice of sanctions for things, just
Yeah.
whatever it was, right?
What is it? No, okay,
Okay.
let's go.
Okay. Can you remember the single worst experience you had with a lawyer on the other side?
With
Anybody on the other side? What was the worst experience you ever had with a?
the worst experience, I think, was with Cleveland. It was always a,
It was just impossible, no?
yeah.
Yeah. I had some cases with him. He would get angry in court. You remember? I don't know if he was actually angry or if it was just playing, but he had this one vein right up here that would pound. I was always waiting for that vein to burst. So, but he was
was so
impossible.
righteous.
Yep, exactly.
I had one case where, on appeal, he cited a case and made a quote, and that quote was not to be found in the case.
Oh.
I told Meacham, he fined him, I don't remember, $500 or $1,000.
Wow.
And
Wow. Excellent stuff. And what do you think was your best experience with a lawyer or with a case?
my best experience.
Best experience, if one stands out.
I can single them out. I can't think of.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many instances that were
Great.
good. Maybe one that Sneed and I had. There was a high school boy that was killed in an accident in Taos County, and I had made it a rule that adjusters from State Farm were not. I wouldn't even listen to them. They were not. Because it was always not a pleasant meeting
Right,
within
right,
your room.
right.
And so I said I was not going to let any of them in the office. We'd just go. And so I got the idea of asking this I don't know how it happened. Anyway, Sneed and I were given authority to sign to settle this case for $90,000. And the guy came in, and I made him an offer for $135, and he accepted it.
Suave. Excellent. Excellent. It's always good to do better than you expect, no?
Yeah.
That's good. So how many cases did you do with Bill Sneed? I didn't realize you'd done any with Bill Sneed.
We did several cases.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. He too was a good lawyer.
Oh,
wasn't he?
yeah.
He was a good
He
lawyer
was,
in stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he was gente
Yeah.
in the courtroom. No, he was just a regular guy,
Yeah.
which is important. Which is what you were, just a regular guy
Yeah.
without notes. So anyway, it's good. So you're clearly satisfied with your legal career. You had a good time with it.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Good.
I did.
Excellent.
And to do it again, I'd do it again.
You do it again. I don't know very many lawyers who would say that, to tell you the truth. You know what? That's good. That's nice to hear that you would run that career again. So, Great. So, anything else before we close out today?
No, I can't think of
No?
anything
Can't
else.
think of anything else? No?
No.
Okay, good. Ahí está. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you very much. It was great.